So today I want to share with you guys in the Becoming series something really kind of horrendous, but also ultimately really, really cool that happened this morning. Yesterday afternoon, I felt a very strong pull to do my first Blab. It's something that I had been talking about doing with my team, and we all agreed that, yes, I need to be out there online more and just sort of offering up our services, like offering up all of the deep work that we do with people on some different online platforms. And it just sounded really, really fun yesterday to do a Blab with everyone. And it was less about the Blab and it was more about the topic that I was really, really excited to facilitate. This is something I've been seeing for a long time and then with the work I already do, but I was seeing a lot of it yesterday. A lot of people who were caught in the Catch22s of life. You know, those things where you really want to take this leap, but it seems like, oh, the money's not there for that program you want to do, or like you're feeling this strong pull to go here or to do that, but the ducks aren't lining, like the human ducks of, again, the money, the time, your schedule, maybe the support you need for it, whatever it is. The proverbial human ducks don't seem to be lining up in a row for you. And so it's like, it kind of feels like your humanity is conflicting with your deep knowing. So it's almost like your humanity is conflicting with that spiritual version of you that knows that anything is possible, that really, really gets that it's all just energy and you can truly create anything you desire. And when we are caught in that conflict, it is like literally the Catch-22s of life take over. And we get caught in a riptide of kind of being carried out into sea, just feeling like we're never going to get what we want. And I was just so like kind of overseeing people having to go through that, because there is an in-between where you can truly live without the Catch-22s, where you can truly live in between the human and the spiritual and have all of your, again, proverbial human ducks line up at the same time as you're getting to have the deeper stuff that you've always desired and like be that deeply spiritual creator, co-creator version of you. So we got on Blab this morning. There's a ton of people on. I couldn't even tell like who was a viewer versus who is. There were at least 10 people, maybe 30, I don't know. And the very first person to get on looks like this beautiful, really sweet woman. And so she was having trouble logging in. And like she was trying to call in. I had never used the platform before. I had not had any space to test it, which is so not like normally I would. And I knew I should have, right? It's like, again, the humanity of it. Like I knew I should have tested the platform, but I didn't have space. And I was just like, whatever, it's going to go. It's going to be fine. So like, how long have I been doing this work for? It's going to be okay. It's just a technical platform, no big deal. And so she suggests, because I was having trouble accepting her and there did seem to be something going on. Another woman chimed in and was like, oh, this is happening yesterday on Blab too. It must be an issue. And so that woman trying to call in was like, add me as a host. It should help. I now get that that wasn't like actually what was going to help. She just needed like an in to do what she was going to do. He or she or it, I don't even know. Ultimately, what happened was the moment I started the moment I started facilitating the call, an incredibly unsafe space was created. So this person started just like constant barrage of sexual innuendos, sexual remarks, insulting people randomly. And there was another person who was like kind of had some backlash, and it was just a mess. I did my best at first. Like I couldn't figure out how to block her. And you know, it took me a minute to even like really figure out. Well, it took me like a full 10 or 15 minutes to really figure out like what the heck is going on over here. Because it's like all in the comment section. And I never used the platform. I did not know what to expect. And so I'm trying to facilitate and I'm feeling totally scattered. But ultimately what people told me was they didn't even know I was scattered. Everybody was like, oh my God, you handled it so well, because I couldn't figure out how to block this person. And I was trying, and like once I figured out, oh my God, this is a mess, I tried to block him, her, it. And that was a mess. I couldn't. And then later I found out that that same person was blocking other people because I had added them as a host, blocking other people from saying anything or being supportive of like me figuring out how to block the person. It was a mess, and it was essentially a nightmare, but it was like, yeah, it was a nightmare, but I very quickly, as I'm like attempting to facilitate, but just going whatever, like, it's the humanity of it, right? And it's like, it is all spirit in the end. I know that. And so it's like there is no division between our humanity and our spirituality. It is just, as humans, we are spirit. As spirit, we are an expression in our humanity. So it's like, I did manage to stay grounded somehow. And, you know, it was like such a cool journey for me to get to be in the crunchiness of what appears to be just totally, utterly human and experience myself not caring and not making myself wrong. Now, yes, that is something that like it takes the work, like the work that we're talking about, the work we do in sorcerer school. It takes the work to really get to a point where those things don't faze you and you know like you're not making yourself wrong for it. You still know that you're enough in the experience, but you're also able to stay grounded enough to then create a safe space for people, to stay grounded enough to then do what you're there to do in the first place. So I managed, like it took, I don't know, it was somewhere half an hour to 45 minutes of the hour and 15-minute planned call. It took that long for me to figure out how to block the person and then come back fully into, okay, here's what we're here for today. And at that point, I definitely lost like half of the people, but that was okay too. And I actually got messages from a couple people that I lost who were super impressed and like, oh my God, you handled it so well. You know, the moment I figured out what was really going on, what I was utterly clear on is that my intention of what the call was, that was about bridging the gap between the humanity and the spirituality and like remedying the Catch-22s, was that. Like basically spirit was giving me this perfect example of like, here, like that's what this work is. Even though I didn't get to as much time to facilitate the topics and to open it up to discussion, which I would have loved to do. And at that point, like nobody was on video live because nobody felt safe. And when I get to the lessons, we'll talk about that in just a moment. But it was truly like, oh, well, I'm not getting to facilitate these bullet point topics that I had desired to and that are part of clearing away the Catch-22s, but I am getting to demonstrate it. I am getting to be it. And it's like, that's the becoming process, right? Is like we embody the work. The work embodies us and we become it. And we can't always know how we're supposed to do that. In fact, we generally don't know how we're supposed to do that. There are two main lessons that I learned in this hilarious and like semi-horrendous experience, but again, really cool experience. And one was, I hadn't been creating fully safe spaces. It's like I do. You come to one of my retreats, one of my live events, you come to sorcerer school or embodying the sorcerer, and it's a very safe space, like very intentional, so much intention around it, and a very, very safe space. So there's so much open sharing. We go so deep together because everyone feels safe. And I wasn't doing that. Like I realized, I've been doing webinars where it's like everybody's behind the screen and it just was kind of automatically safe. So I didn't feel like I had to create intention there around the safe space being safe. And now I get that it's like, yeah, I always have to create a safe space. It is always up to me in facilitating this work to create a deeply safe space. So that was a really cool, like, all right, I need to blame myself. And like, that's part of the process of becoming, is learning the lessons and getting those perfect lessons as we go along. And then the second one was to be more intentional. So ironically enough, I set an intention on New Year's Eve so exactly 4 months ago, to be more intentional with everything. I set a few very core intentions of what was up for me this year and what I wanted 2016 to be about. And one was to be far more intentional with everything in my life, with every bit of every action I ever take or everything I ever do in my life. as the year has gone along, I've gotten more lessons about where I'm also not being intentional. And so that was like, it was spirit showing me, you said you wanted to be more intentional, but you were not intentional with this call. Before I come onto Sorcerer School, I have intentions. Before I do a lot, again, it's like the same as a safe space. Like, I know where, and I'm very intentional. And then the deep transformation always happens for people because I'm intentional with it. And I didn't do that with this call. It was just very kind of on a whim. I want to get on Blab. Cool, let's do it. Never used it before. Whatever. It's going to be fun. And I like that fun and light energy, but it's also like, no, when we're doing this kind of work, even if people are just it's like even you right now as a viewer, like we still have a relationship with each other, whether you know it or not, like you can feel some sort of relationship that we have with each other right now. And so whether I can see the people on the other side of the screen or not, it's deeply important for me to be intentional in what I want to convey, and you receiving what you're asking for by showing up in that space. So it was another huge lesson for me. And again, it's like the irony of, in that process of becoming, when you set an intention for something, you're going to get lessons around where you're not being in that intention. So mine was even more ironic because the intention was about being intentional. So I'm getting lessons about where I'm not being intentional. And anytime you set an intention for something, it's going to be like, you're going to be becoming that thing that you set an intention for. And so you'll get lessons and transformations and shifts in order to move into the fullness of that intention that you set. So it's also perfect, right? It's like, all right, so this morning, in a way, sucked. And everyone got so much out of it. It's like we all got to experience together the bridging of that gap in our humanity and our just being spirit, and the removal of the Catch22s. We got to experience it hand in hand in that space. And it's like one of those Catch22s that people had voiced to me that they wanted to cover before the call was feeling like other people kind of fuck things up sometimes, for lack of better words, pardon my French. And that when they do, feeling like they don't want to sort of eat. I have a client who calls it the shit sandwich, that when something goes down with someone and the other person won't take responsibility, that it's like you have a shit sandwich with this person, and yes, it's our job to find our opportunity in the shit sandwich and eat our half or be with our half. But when the other person doesn't, it's like, what do we do with the other half? And we can sometimes feel resentment, frustration, like lack of forgiveness with the other person when they're not eating their half of the shit sandwich. And so that was also covered. It was like, again, everybody wanted to cover that, but I got to demonstrate doing that with this crazy hacker. And, I say crazy in a loving way because this person is just human and expressing their pain in a kind of silly way. But guess what? They gave me a gift today. So that's the other half of the shit sandwich, is that person is probably never going to watch this, or they might comment something scary below. We'll find out, right? And they probably don't recognize at all the havoc that they wreaked on this call and making it unsafe for others. And it was our perfect opportunity to learn and grow together. So if that hacker hadn't come in today, or whatever you want to call that person, we wouldn't have gotten to all learn and grow from it with the purity of the intention that was set in the first place, right? Everything that comes our way is an opportunity in our becoming process too. Okay, so this is a very long video, and yet it's all perfect, right? Some of these, I'm getting that some of the becoming videos maybe 5 minutes or 3 minutes, and some of them maybe a little longer, like today's. So that's awesome, and we can be with that, because the becoming process isn't something that we can put restraints around, right? That's just not how it works. So there we go. This is today's becoming process, and my own, how I'm becoming more of me and more grounded in that amazingness of humanity and it not even being real at the same time. Thanks for watching, everybody, and all my love. Ciao. Don't forget to subscribe for more videos just like this.